All right, time to talk about Evil Dead 2, a film that is very beloved. But there are people who really don't care for the tonal shift. They much prefer the more serious horror style of the first one and didn't like the comedic tone that this one took. And if you're not into horror comedies or goofy horror comedies, then this might not have worked for you, bringing this, in the direction that this went. And if you don't like this one, you sure as fuck aren't going to like the next one. I would be very surprised to find out that there are people that hate this one but love Army of Darkness. I'm sure they're out there. I mean, everything exists, if you look hard enough. But I just find that very, I don't know, that would be very confusing to me. The Army of Darkness just takes it to that next level of slapstick. So, I don't know. I was reading on the back here right before I pressed record, I haven't even seen this, that Roger Ebert said it was manic-inspired genius, a great time. Roger Ebert loved this movie? Really? That's surprising to me. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's a misquote. That seems odd. All right. And, of course, as usual with these, I gotta show the Necronomicon made for me by Frederick Wilby. Thank you for this. It's so badass. I gotta show it in every video. The guy handcrafted it himself, sent it to me. Still probably the coolest gift I ever got. Just because, this isn't something you can just buy. This dude made this thing from hand. So, gotta check him out. I'll try to remember to link whatever he tells me to link. I'll ask him what I should link below to try to get a hold of him if you want to talk to him about it, or maybe get your own. I don't know. Maybe he'll make you another one. I don't know if it's a one-piece thing. But anyways, all right. So let's get to Evil Dead 2. Now, in this one, we have the Necronomicon. We don't have the other name that they had in the first one. So this one starts more... Oh, I don't know. I guess it's the name I'm used to. So when I hear it in the original, I'm like, ain't the Necronomicon? When I hear it in here, it's like, oh, okay. It's the one I'm familiar with. So it immediately feels right, because this is more of Evil Dead to me. I grew up on Evil Dead 2. So when I watch Evil Dead 1, it feels like it doesn't feel Evil Dead, which is really weird to say, because it really is kind of wrong. Evil Dead 1 should be what Evil Dead is, right? That's the first film in the franchise. So anything after it, changing tone, shouldn't feel Evil Dead. But because I grew up on this one, and because of where the franchise went, Army of Darkness, Ash vs. Evil Dead, those are all more in the vein of the comedy style horror of Evil Dead. So the franchise has more become the Evil Dead 2 format. So when I watched Evil Dead 1, it just doesn't feel Evil Dead to me. There's things in it that absolutely feel Evil Dead. Obviously, you've got Ash, you got the cabin, you've got the Deadites, it's all there, but the tone is so different that it doesn't feel Evil Dead as much. And going back and watching these, now I have watched Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and the Evil Dead remake prior to recording this. So I have went through the entire series again. It had been a little while since I've watched all of them, but man, I really just enjoy the shit out of every entry in this series. But for now, let's stick to this one. All right, so we have the book Disappeared in the 1300s. That lines up with what we have in Army of Darkness. Now, as far as continuity, this series isn't really well known for its continuity. The continuity in this franchise is shit. And it's not completely disregarded, but it's one of the worst. It's bad. The fact that we had this conversation, and people kept trying to give me links to Bruce Campbell discussing on how this is either a sequel or whatever. I honestly didn't even watch the video yet. I forgot about it until right now. I should have pressed play on it, but whatever. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is my viewing experience. I don't need the actor of the film to tell me whether or not this is that and blah, blah, blah. No. When I watch this is not a fucking sequel. I don't care what anyone says. It isn't. Unless you're going along that, idea I had come up with, that these are like alternate reality versions of events. So you have Evil Dead 1 and then you have Evil Dead 2, and they're just in alternate universes or alternate timelines or whatever. That's why you see the car in the opening in the swamp. In this one, you have the same car, you have the same character, but he's coming with a girlfriend. Even in the next one, the girlfriend's different and the events are changed. So you have the events of what happened in the cabin changing changes twice, but you have 3 different events in this franchise about one particular story. People coming to a cabin, Deadites attacking, Ash being, the final survivor, and then what transpires from there that leads into Army of Darkness. It's told completely different in all 3 movies. Even in the opening Army of Darkness, when they're doing a flashback, they use footage. We're going to save that for Army of Darkness, but it's just weird. So when I watched this one this time, I was really trying to pay attention to all of that. And I was trying to say, like, okay, how could this be a sequel? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's just, they didn't have the rights to the first one, so they reshot and sped up a recap, essentially. No, it isn't. He has his girlfriend, sure, and he gives her a similar looking necklace, and they have a similar car, and they have the location is all similar, sure. She gets taken, he cuts her head off with the shovel and all that. Yes, those are similar. But why? Like, if you're just going to retell the same story, but like that, have the friends come back. Just have them there to dispatch really quick, one after the other. It would take 5 seconds to kill each one of them and do it very similar to how the first one was. And to streamline that, right? I'm guessing, we'll just take the girlfriend and put them in here, but that's not even sort of how the events transpired. That's not what happened with Ash. That's not where we last left him. That's not what so to say that this is like just, they redid it in a quick time frame to catch us up to where Ash is being attacked at the end of Evil Dead 1, no, it's not. You can recast and you can do all these things. I mean, look at the beginning of Hatchet 2. It has the exact same scene, but with Daniel Harris in replacement of the other girl, screaming and doing that exact same moment. It doesn't matter if you recast. It doesn't matter. It's just, I don't know. It's a fucking remake. It's a remake of its own thing. I don't care. I don't care whatever anybody links me to. It's bullshit. This is taking the events from the first one and remaking them into something completely different to tell a completely new story. Anyway, all right, let's move on from that. I don't know. This has been a debate for a long time, and I should have watched more stuff on it and watched the commentaries and whatever to get that, but I have to take it at face value, what I'm watching as the viewer, because that's all we had in the theater back in the day. That's all we had on VHS back in the day. When we brought it home, we watched it. This is all I can talk from. And as a viewer of this film and watching the first one and this one back to back, they are not sequels. Not a fucking chance. Anyway. All right. So Ash and his girlfriend, Linda, here, they are breaking and entering, I guess. I don't know. She's like, shouldn't we not be here? What if they come home? All this. I don't know whose is this supposed to be, but they're not supposed to be there. I love the whole, well, I'm a man and you're a woman. Like, Ash really hams it up. And this is where we get Ash. Like, the Ash we know. The Ash in the first one is just kind of a stock character that you would see in any one of these kinds of monster movies. He's not all that memorable. It's not a bad performance. It's a good movie. And if I had watched it, he would just be one of the 5 characters in it. He'd be the final boy. And, I don't think I could tell you his name, like, if I only watched that movie. So this one, though, this is Ash. Like, this is a very memorable character. And it's because Bruce Campbell really brings it in this. This is such a physical performance by him. He really brings a lot of, oh my God, like, how many times does he hurt himself in this? How many times does he throw himself around and smash things into his face and jump? It's like a freaking, like, the old school movies, like a Charlie Chaplin or something. It's really fun to watch, and you can't just hire anybody for this. Bruce Campbell is Ash for a reason. That's why you can't replace him. And so we get the castle, we get a flashback of the castle, which plays into Army of Darkness, cool. And then we have this family who looks like they're tourists at Disneyland coming in to find this book, the Necronomicon, which it's been missing since 1300. They pull up to a castle, and right inside of a little corridor or hallway, and you can see the light in the castle interior back there. They just walk right up, and there's the book and there's the knife. No one could find that? Really? That was lost? What? Really? Like, I found it funny when they say it. Yes, it's low budget and they were just moving it along. It didn't really matter, but just the way it was shot and how goofy they were just like walking in there. There's no dirt on them. It's not like they had to go through any, trials and tribulations to get to it or anything. Like, they just walk in, they're like, everyone's hair is all still nice, and they just walk up like, oh, there's the book. Like, no one found this, no one in the area. Fucking ridiculous. I just thought that part was hilarious when I saw it. The girlfriend in this is taken instantly. I mean, they get right to it, and that makes sense because people are saying, "Oh, it's like a streamline, retelling." No, but then he kills her, and then he gets taken. The time in this movie moves so fast, and I don't mean the pacing of the film. I mean actual time within the film. So they're like driving to the cabin, and it's daylight. They get to the cabin, and right as they get to the cabin, it's still daylight, but then they get inside the cabin, they're hanging out, it's night. Then the girlfriend gets taken. He gets freaking pulled out of the house, flies like through the thing, hits a tree, wakes up, and dawn is coming. Like, he doesn't like wake up like hours later. He wakes up like instantly, comes out, dawn comes. Dawn now kills the demons. I don't know. Is that explored again in this franchise? Maybe it is. I haven't seen every episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead, but whatever. So then dawn goes away. He falls down, falls asleep, wakes up, and somehow is right outside the cabin. You see that he's thrown through the woods for like fucking 2 straight minutes, flying as fast as possible, hits a tree, comes down. When he wakes up, he's right outside the cabin. That makes no sense. But then he walks in, grabs his car, starts driving, gets to the bridge. I like that shot of the bridge where it's all curled back and he curls back. A lot of cool composite shots and stuff like this. I mean, this is way before CGI, so you just had to get clever with it. And I like the way that looks, even though it doesn't look good by today's standards, but it still looks cool. But then the sun, of course, the sun is this fucking big in the sky. The moon, the sun, they're always huge in these movies. It's a cool visual shot. And it's already going down. So, like, 2 fucking days have passed in what seems like it should be 10 minutes. In this, like, literally, like, maybe an hour at best. It's crazy how fast time moves in this movie. He slept for a long time. I guess when you get overtaken by a demon or a deadite or whatever, it takes a lot out of you, and you gotta sleep through the night. Sleep through the day, should I say. And where are we? Yeah. So then when the car, he jumps in his car and he starts driving backwards, and this beast is coming. I love the POV shots of the camera. Does it throughout this one and the last one. But can someone tell me how the hell he turned his car around? I know I'm just nitpicking, but I'm nitpicking for fun. He goes to turn his car around, and he spins like halfway. The car's barely even turned, and then it cuts back to the POV, and then it cuts back, and he's just turning and going around. He had to do it quick. Absolutely not. It's such a silly cut. It's like, there's no way he turned that car around. And then he crashes, and I love the camera through the window. It breaks as it comes through, so someone had to be there, like, breaking it right as it was, like, passing through. I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of reminded me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, where it goes, like, through the girl's head and out the back of the windshield through her bullet hole. Great shot. But I really like that stuff. And then we get the chase through the house, which I've always been a big fan of, this chase through the house. There's so many different corridors and different exits. For such a small little cabin, there's sure a hell of a lot of places. Every single thing seems to be connected by a different door or a little corridor or hallway or whatever. And somehow he gets around that door and down into the cellar and closes the cellar door all in a fraction of a second. Ash is fucking lightning in this movie. Holy shit, how fast does he move there in that moment? I guess when you have a Kandarian demon chasing after you, you figure it out, right? You move quick. And then it looks for him for 1 second, just like, well, don't see him. All right, I'm just going to retreat back freaking 100 miles into the woods. As I said in my last review, I don't get it. Like, do these things have to stay within the vicinity of where the book was read? Is that how that works? Is it tethered to like a certain circumference? Like, why can't, once it's released, go out and just attack the world? Like, it's released, right? So go and do your thing. Why does it just keep coming to the cabin? It wants to possess your soul and take you. Why is it so fixated on you? I'm sure there's lots of other people out there for you to go after. But then you wouldn't have a movie, a low budget one anyway. And his girlfriend's body is so rotten for one night, but as I said, time moves so fast in this movie, it's probably been a month. I love when he's talking, she's grabbing him and her arms are full skeleton arms. They're not even skin on them anymore. And she's talking and her head falls off. The practicals and all that in this movie are fantastic. I mean, you can tell the production value on this movie is much higher than the first one. Not that I don't like the first one's gore and all that. I think that's great. I think it's fun. But you don't have to look past as much in this one. Of course, there's still things that aren't amazing. Like one of the Deadites is hanging. You can clear as day, see Ed when he's a Deadite. You can see his, harness, string, whatever, from the roof. It is bad. It's one of the worst ones. I was just like, wow, did they even attempt to hide that? Did they even try to put it behind his head and maybe frame him just where his head's off here? Anything you could have done, but Jesus, it's clear as day. Maybe that's because I have a Blu-ray. I don't know, but man, it's bad. It's noticeable. But hey, it's a movie. I know it ain't real. And I love when he goes down to the work shed after, he grabs the chainsaw and he chainsaws into that body that comes through, the headless body, and it's just jacking back and forth with the chainsaw, and it's just fucking, oh, that's such a great looking scene. It's one of my favorite looking practical effects in this film, and there's a lot of them. So and then so he has the head fall into his lap and then bite his hand, which I thought was great. He takes it out of the work shed and cuts it all up, and then I feel like the Deadites and I feel like they're just there purely to torment people. I think that's their whole aim. They love being dicks. They just to make Ash see his girlfriend as normal girlfriend's head in the vice, get him crying, and then tell him what a fucking loser is and yell at him and all this stuff. It's just all head games with them. And I think it's to weaken you. Because in this movie, Ash becomes a Deadite twice, 2 fucking times. And he comes out of it both times. One by Dawn, which Dead by Dawn is the title. Or at least it used to be. It's not on here, weirdly. Oh, here it is. Welcome to Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. It's not Dead by Dawn on the front of the cover, but I don't know. Does that ever play into this? But regardless. So he has the Dawn one, and then he has the necklace one. The necklace brings him out of it. So I guess your soul is still actually in there. And if you're strong enough, and if you have, a strong enough connection memory-wise, you can fight it and you can beat it. So, I mean, they're not completely gone. It is possible for them to come back. And we even see that in Army of Darkness with Sheila, but we'll get there. So yeah, and their body, whatever damage their body takes while a Deadite, I guess just goes away when you're not a Deadite anymore, because that happens in this one, it happens in Army of Darkness, it happens in the remake. Anytime you sustain any bodily injury, it doesn't then apply to your body when you come out of that state. So it's it just goes away. It's a fantasy projection. It's odd. Another problem this movie has. Like, they should come out of it like, what the fuck has happened to my hand, and what have I done to my face, and But that's it too. Like, when they're not really coming out of it, they are still injured. So it's weird. Like, it's like that's how you can tell whether or not they actually have changed or not. Because the ones that have like nails in their face and whatever, why does my face hurt and all this? No, those wouldn't be there if you were actually brought back. From what I've seen in this franchise, anyway. Anyway, all right. So then we have Annie and Ed, and they're coming down, and they run into Jake and Bobby Joe. Has anyone ever just thought like Bobby Joe is way out of Jake's league? I just remember thinking when I was watching this as a kid, being like, that chick's with that dude, really? The hand kitchen fight scene's great. Then he grabs it. Who's laughing now? Cuts it off. That's a brutal scene, man. Great stuff. And then I think that's the moment where a lot of people may have like just lost it in this film, as far as like maybe if they're not into the comedy stuff, is like the hand making noise and like talking essentially. It's like, as it runs across and all that. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And I think if you're looking for more of a serious nature tone, and then it goes in the wall and it gives him the finger and it steps in a mousetrap and he's laughing at it and then he shoots it and blood is pouring out at him. It's zany, it's funny. It's just, if you're not into that kind of stuff, I don't know if it's going to work for you in that way. So I could see if that's not your thing. I love, then he puts the book on the freaking, well, before that, sorry. He puts the book on the pan and it's the Farewell to Arms. That is a cute little pun right there. Love how much blood just pours out of that. Sucks that he has to cut off his right hand. Oh my goodness. That would be terrible. If you're going to cut off a hand of mine, make it my left, because, right is tight. And yeah, they come in, they think that Ash has killed his parents, so they beat the shit out of him, they kick him. Holy shit, that fall into the cellar is brutal. I don't think he would survive that. Then Ash, they listen to the recording, and it's like, the mom is in the basement, and Ash freaks out because Henrietta comes up, and she's this gross freaking, oh my god, grotesque, her body and everything. And so then, he goes and he's trying, and Jake's trying to let him in, and he just keeps pushing on the thing, and it's like, Ash, stop for a second so you can unlock the damn thing. He grabs his face and pulls him out, and then the whole Henrietta scene is fantastic. I love the practical effects on her. Love all of that stuff. And let's see. Oh, the eyeball in the mouth when the head gets pinned and it flies across into Bobby Joe's mouth. Yeah, it's so silly. I love it. And then Annie decides to yell at Ash as he runs off. Help us, you fucking coward. He comes up back with an axe with his left hand, and starts fucking hacking away at this thing, while Linda sits there and does nothing the entire fucking time. Well, so just because you're standing there, that makes you not a coward, but Ash goes to run. I get that she thinks he runs away there, but really? You're going to call someone a coward and not actually do a fucking thing? And then when that hero comes back, you try to kill him multiple times. Yes, she still thinks he's a deadite. I get that she's not falling for it, but what is she really doing? To call him a coward. Yeah, not cool, lady. Not cool. And then the dad scene where he kind of like fades in and tells them, that's a weird scene. He looks like freaking Death from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, William Sadler's Death, in his little cloak and his white face. It's a weird scene. I don't really care for it. I just don't feel like it fits in the series. And where the hell was I? I love, Linda stabs Annie. Yeah, fucking, these names are all blending to me. Stabs Jake, then he comes in, his body falls in freaking the door, and she tries to shut the door right on him, and then pulls him in and shuts it on his feet. Like, really? You didn't check? Really? Like, the first one's ridiculous. The fucking full man is laying there in the doorway. What the hell did you think was going to happen? You put a beer on a vibrating bed. What did you think was going to happen? And we get no tree rape this time. We get the hero from the sky prophesies, which plays into Army of Darkness. Jake says that the pages don't mean squat. I would feel like he'd be a believer by this time, but hey, whatever. And where else are we? Yeah, I already said all that bullshit. I love the whole, little montage here of Ash making his chainsaw arm and all of that, and cutting off the shotgun and making his boomstick to be like, that is Ash becoming Ash as we know him from this point on. And then Annie has the book, and she goes up, Ash goes down, grabs the pages, comes back up, hands them to her. She's going up there, she's reading them, and it's like, focus on reading. She hears something down there, and she stops reading and goes to investigate. Like, no. Just read. Yeah. And then freaking Henrietta comes out, and she has that long ass neck, and he's like punching it, and then he goes and he cuts it off. That's a great scene, and the arms fly this way, and the neck flies that way. I love probably my favorite scene in this movie, and the one I quote the most with my brother, is when the head's on the ground and it looks at him. He's looking away, and it's like, "Hey, I'll swallow your soul." It's the "hey" that kills me, because it's like, "Hey, down here, pay attention to me. Like, here's an offer that you can't refuse. I'll swallow your soul." I don't know what it is about the delivery, about the moment in the movie. It's just hilarious to me. "Hey!" Like, what? "I'll swallow your soul." Oh, okay, here it is. Like, the "hey." It's just the "hey." Fucking love it. Ash gets gray hair on the side of his head. It disappears in the next movie, so I don't know. That was weird. And then there's like this really quick, teeny little romance between Annie and Ash that's kind of squished. I don't know if it's just maybe an understanding between them, or if it was a romance. His girlfriend's been dead, an hour? Or in this movie, like 6 months. And then then we have the huge head. I'm glad we got to see what the evil was in the woods that came through the door. I thought that was great. And then a bunch of mini heads, I guess the souls of others. Maybe that's what makes it grow, is the head, like the souls that become actual heads on the bodies. And the head comes out of the head. That was great. It feels very Freddy or something to me for some reason. And then Ash is sucked into this vortex. We get the Christmas lights all around inside of there. I guess that's what they had to use, so the production value isn't that high. Then he falls down at the car at the same time. That must have been an interesting shot to try to line up. I think they were probably done together. I don't know. Maybe they were edited together. And then they have the false ending of this, which then they completely do away with in the next movie, which is very fucking frustrating to me. But they're like, "Hail, hail," and then the next movie, they're not praising him, obviously. So, continuity. But you kind of just got to look past that and just enjoy the flick how it is. What a fucking fun time. All right, let's move on to Army of Darkness.